All right, let's get dizzy. Today is turns around a point.
Welcome to Connect Sim, a channel dedicated to one question. Can VR Flight Sim pre-train a student for flight school? Will it make you a better pilot, faster, safer, and for less money? And will the masked aviator ever remove his VR headset?
Hey, show me in the rule book where it says I can't wear goggles while flying. Wow, there's a lot of rules in there.
After 6 months of full immersion simulation, I'm putting my life on the line to find out. Does pre-training in VR give a rookie pilot the edge? Or have I just doomed my poor CFI to an overconfident student with a head full of bad habits?
Strap in, hit subscribe as we push the limits of pilot training
On Connect Sim.
Okay, so today we're at Whiteman Airport. This is one of 2 airports that I might fly out of for my training. So we're going to take a quick flight over to the west, and I'm going to show you how I've been doing turns around a point. So here we go. Checklist is all complete, so all we have to do is take off. And oil pressure looks good. Airspeed's coming alive. That's 30, 40, and 55 rotate. Here we go. We'll set for VY. We're going to clean up those flaps. Okay, so we're going to fly out to this reservoir over here. So a few months ago I was doing lighting for this comedy special, and I found out during the course of prepping the stage that the director of photography actually had his PPL. So obviously I started asking a bunch of questions and just trying to pick his brain. And one thing that he brought up that was sort of a challenge for him was the flight maneuvers that you have to do. So if you're not familiar with the ACS, there's 3 different flight maneuvers that you might have to demonstrate. You only have to demonstrate one, but you are going to demonstrate one of the 3. So one of the 3 that we're doing today is going to be turns around a point. The other is rectangular pattern. Then there's S-turns. He said S-turns were the ones that really gave him trouble. So let's turn back to our destination here. So even though it's been a couple of weeks since the last video I posted, I have been keeping up with my VR training along with my ground school work. All I got to do is take my final written along with getting my medical, and then I'm ready to start lessons. So the point of these maneuvers is that you can turn your airplane in wind and still be able to track your course properly. We're headed off to this reservoir for 2 really good reasons and 1 really bad reason that would actually preclude us from flying for real out here, but for VR it's going to be okay. The first reason is that there's good landing areas that you can see. There's a few unpopulated sparse areas that have enough impromptu runway that if we have engine trouble, we're within the glide path. You know, you got 1,000 feet, that doesn't give you a whole lot of time. The other really good reason is that in VR, you can tell what the wind is doing on bodies of water. So that's why we're here. Microsoft Flight Sim doesn't really give any smoke. It doesn't render the trees in any kind of way that's going to show you what's going on. But if you look at the lake down there, the waves are coming at us. That's why water bodies are great for doing turns around a point, because it gives you a visual indication of what your wind is doing. The one really bad reason is if you check the sectional chart, I am in Class E airspace. It's kind of on the top of Van Nuys and Whiteman. They're both Class D. And then there's this little outcropping basically exactly where I am. So being Class E, this would be a terrible place to fly in real life, but I'm kind of hoping, I've got live traffic turned on, and I'm hoping that will give me some sort of incident where I can see traffic. Because that's another important part of this in the ACS is that you can't be eyes on the point, you can't be eyes on your instruments the whole time. You got to be scanning the skies, looking at your point, looking at your instruments. But first thing we're going to do, we're going to get up to altitude, and we are going to do our clearing turns to make sure that we are clear of any traffic. So clear left, we're at a heading of 030, so we'll just turn back. All right. Clear right, once again, at least a 90-degree turn. This is a great spot. You can see we're entering on the downwind. That's one of the things that we're going to try and do with this maneuver. We're going to speed up to 2200 RPM. That'll give us about 95 knots. And I'm going to aim to about 1,000 feet to the right of this lake. Now a turn point is going to be, if you see where those two, there's the reservoir and then the overflow reservoir. That's kind of where we're going. And one quick thing, so let me just put it in pause for a second. You want to make sure your wind is doing something workable. In real life, when you do your check ride, the wind's going to be what it's going to be, and you're just going to have to deal with it. But I like to do these at various wind speeds and whatnot. All right, so we'll do the maneuver at 10 knots. That's a good amount of wind so that we can get practice with it, but not so much wind that we're going to be fighting it too much. And it's good to, change the direction, change the speeds, add gusts or take them away. So, okay, now we got wind coming from 071 at 10 knots, gusting 10 knots. All right, so we'll exit out of that. I'm at about 2,100 feet, so we'll just accept that as our altitude to start with. So here we go, out of pause. We're a little slow. So the requirements of this is that you stay within plus or minus 100 feet and plus or minus 10 knots. So let's get back down to 2,200 RPM. We're at 85, and right now you can see now the waves are going the opposite way. They're going the same direction we are. So we're on the downwind. Right now this will be the fastest we'll go, and we're a little close to the feature, but so that's, if you look down there, I'm not aiming for the reservoir, I'm aiming for that little house just to the left of the reservoir. I'm going to show you right now what happens if I just keep a normal consistent bank. Let's make sure that bank is under 45. That's another part of the requirements, is that your angle of bank needs to remain at 45 degrees or below. And if I just maintain right around 45, what you're going to notice is that I'm slowly drifting away from that target. And I like to do this in a G1000 equipped airplane, because if you look at my MFD, this little arc gives a good way to tell your distance from a point. So right now you can tell I'm drifting towards it, and now the wind's pushing me away from it, and I'm not keeping consistent distance from my point. I'm also, if you look, I'm at 2,400, I'm at 105 knots. Everything's kind of going screwy on me. And that's what this maneuver is I'm sure, attempting to teach, is that if you just sit here and look at your point, and don't look at your instruments, don't look at the sky around you, don't correct for your wind, don't change your bank angle, what's going to happen is the wind's going to blow you all around, your speeds are going to change, your altitude's going to change. It's not going to work out for you. So we're going to descend again. We're going to get ourselves a little bit more stable this time. This time when we come into the pattern, we're going to keep a consistent distance from that object, from that little house that you saw. And not just the house, we're going to look at just the crosshairs that the triangles of the roof create. So we're going to aim real small so that we can keep a very close eye on what we're doing. And what's going to happen, I'll just give you a little preview, as we go through this, as the wind pushes us around, we're going to change our bank angle to make sure that we maintain the distance from that object. So as we come in on the downwind, we'll turn in just a second. As we come in on the downwind, wind's going to be pushing us with it, so we need to turn extra fast to come around. So that's going to be our highest angle of bank. Then when we get crosswind of it, it's going to be pushing us away. So we can flatten our bank a little bit and just let the wind push us. Then when we get towards the upwind, that's going to be where your angle of bank is the least, because you don't really need to turn as much. The wind is going to push you, so you're going a little bit faster. And then when you turn headwind to crosswind, we need to be countered against the wind. Sort of, if you've seen one of my earlier videos about rudder pedals, I go into crosswind landings, you crab with the wind, so you're actually kind of pointed outside of the circle that you're trying to draw. And the point of that is the wind is pushing you closer to your point of reference, and so you need to be, pulling yourself away from it at the same rate. We're going to try and be about one airplane wing away from that when we get into it. We're going to try and tip in at about 30 degrees. So here we are, 2,400 feet. We're a little high in correcting. We're a little fast, and I'll correct for that. So once we're a beam of it, we'll start our turns. So right about there. That's going to be our highest angle of bank. And looking at the waves, we're now centered to it. We're just going back and forth between scanning for traffic, checking out our reference, and looking at our instruments. So I'm getting a little ahead of it. You can see it's pushed me back. And now I'm getting closer to my alignment. And we're good on altitude. We're good on speed. 95 knots and 2,200. That's dead on. Check that out. Okay, now it's getting a little bit ahead of us, so we're just going to flatten out. We got traffic at our 12 o'clock, no factor. Flatten out even more. It's still a little ahead of us, so we're still at too much of a bank. We're 2260, so we're a little bit high. Correct for that. All right, now we're on the downwind, so this is going to be our highest angle of bank here. You can see that little house is drifting back to the end of the wing. One tip I found that works out pretty well, you can see we're going into the part where we have to crab. One little tip that I found that really works out is if you look at that aim point, try and keep it at the center of your wing. And if it starts drifting towards the front, then you just need to flatten out your bank angle. If it starts going towards the back of your wing, then you need to bank more. So see how it's going towards the back of that? Let me see if I can pan my head more. See, as I increase the bank, you could see it kind of slipping relative to that wing. Now it's getting a little bit forward, so we're just going to flatten out a little. 2260 and dead on our speeds. So all these maneuvers that you have to do, the S-turns, the rectangle, the turn around a point, they're all sort of the same maneuver, just with a different bent on the same idea. The idea is that you have wind that you need to compensate for. This is our upwind, so I need to be flat, way flatter than that. They're all about trying to compensate for the wind while keeping your orientation around a reference point. It's basically just making sure you can place your aircraft where you want it to be accurately. And the good thing about the turn around the point is that you can just keep turning around that point. So the other ones I do, this one I do probably more. Oh, I need to be way sharper because this is our downwind. I'm lifting up. Oh, I almost broke the ceiling there. I hit 2300. So plus or minus 100, and we started at 2200. That's our standard that we're aiming for. So anyway, the good thing is your techniques are going to be about the same for all of these maneuvers. It's just a matter of, are you consistently turning and practicing keeping that point directly off your wing, or are you turning one way then the other way as you would in an S-turn, or are you doing a rectangle? It's all about making sure you're flying in a proper pattern, proper orientation, proper speeds, and you're, almost broke the ceiling there. Oh, I'm sorry, the floor, 2100. So one thing I'm hoping when I get in a real plane is that the actual feeling of flight will help inform this maneuver a bit better. Trying not to rely on sort of my senses to tell me where I am in a plane, and that's really, really easy when you're in VR because you effectively have no senses. But little things like speeding up, slowing down, going up, going down. My experience as a passenger in a Cessna is those are very, very apparent. So I'm kind of hoping that this maneuver is a lot harder in VR than it is in real life. Because it's not the easiest. It's a lot of work to try and do everything all at once. You're keeping your altitudes right, your speeds, your distance from the point. See, I'm drifting a little bit farther back. And also, I have no idea what the tolerance for distance from the point is. I mean, this whole time I've kept a relative, decent distance from that point, but I'm sure it's changed as the flight progresses. I'd be really interested to know what the tolerance of my turns has been. I can tell, from distance from the wing and how it looks visually, the times that I'm consistent, the times that I'm very, very close to keeping that point exactly dead center of my track's arc, I guess it would be called. But there's sometimes it drifts off and I don't know, at what point are you drifting too far off? That's something, that's a question for the CFI when I get to that point. But I'm doing okay, I'm getting better. It's the sort of thing that I think It's difficult when you start. It gets easier. Hopefully as I get better, through flying a real plane with a real CFI who knows what they're doing, hopefully it'll become easier and easier. And like I said, this is one of those must-pass points of your check ride. You're only going to get one of these 3 maneuvers, but you are going to get one. Yeah, it's always weird when you have 2 things you're fighting against. I was low, and I was too close, and I didn't have enough bank. Oh, it dawns on me that that might be kind of the point. Because if you're too close, then you need too much bank. If you've got too much bank, you're going to rob yourself of speed. You're also going to be putting more wing loading on. Oh, if you put more wing loading on, then your stall speed goes up. And if you're slowing down because of your bank, oh, maybe that's the entire reason that this exercise exists. If you're a CFI or a pilot and that's not insane nonsense speak, hit me on the comments. Let me know, because I had one of those, what I think is a revelatory moment. Maybe I'm just a little too dizzy. It's funny. I'm not turning at all, but it kind of makes you dizzy in a weird sort of way. Either way, that's what I got for turns around a point. Now, I do want to show you one more thing. This is the other reason I like to do it in this location. You'll see as I come around, this is Van Nuys right up ahead. After I finish a round of turns around a point, I like to fly out to Van Nuys. I just go direct into 1-6 right, and then I do a little bit of pattern work with the same wind. So as I come in, this ought to be just a perfect left crosswind. So we'll see how it feels as we come in. Let's configure for slow flight. We're a little high. I find that doing these landings directly after doing turns about a point, it really helps out, because it kind of reinforces, everything that I learned from continually adjusting my bank angle to maintain a distance around a point. You're kind of doing the same thing in pattern work. You're just breaking that circle up into 4 discrete turns with some straight flight in between. So you kind of get to practice everything, and you get those little bit of the quadrants where you're practicing where your bank should be and how you should be varying that bank to maintain that, perfect arc around a point on the ground. And also when you get to those straight points, you get to practice, crabbing away from the wind. So right now we're on a pretty much perfect crosswind from the left, and when we come back around on our downwind, it's going to be a perfect crosswind to our right. Right now we're crabbed to the wind until we hit that center line. Then I like to go into that full slip. Yeah, I think turns around a point have been super useful for me to learn. It's helped every aspect of my flying in VR, and hopefully it's going to help me when I go train to be a real pilot. If it helped you, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're a real pilot, hit me in the comments. Let me know where I did things wrong. And I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, see ya. That was a greaser.